Hello, everybody. It's me, Root Beer. We don't have a podcast episode again this week because Atlas decided he had a life instead of dedicating it all to this YouTube channel. How dare he? So instead, we're gonna have another news video. We're just gonna read all of this week's reveals. So first, we have V promos for Gold Paladin and Gear Chronicle. So the Gold Paladin one is when attacks while boosted, Counterblast 1, look at top 4 cards. Choose up to one card with a different card name as this unit, call it to rearguard circle, shuffle your deck. If your opponent's grade 3 or greater, you can choose 2 cards instead of 1. And then they all have the same effect as start of your right phase. If you're grade 1 or less, discard it, look at top 5, add a grade 2 or less card. So the Gear Chronicle one is when attacks while boosted, Counterblast 1, choose one of your other rearguards, put it at the bottom of your deck. If you put a card, choose one card with a different name as this unit and grade +1 of the card you put at the bottom, call it to rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck. So basically it's just a time leaper. These both seem pretty strong. Like the Gold Paladin one being able to just call any 2 things once your opponent is at grade 3 seems kind of crazy. Obviously you're not going to be calling over itself, because, you're just going to lose out on the attack there, but you can call up to a new column, or if you have Excel markers, then you can call to that. So this just seems really strong. And then, Time Leap is always a pretty good mechanic. Next up, we have Fortia support for this week's Tuesday stream. Also, reprint promos are going to be Dark Strain, Spiritual Body Condensation, which has very different art from its original, and something from Lyrical. I don't remember what this one does. So anyways, Fortia cards. So this is a grade 1. It has the friend ability, so if another unit is in the same column, they become friends. And when this unit boosts a unit that is attacking a grade 3 or greater unit, and if your Vanguard is Fortia, and you have 5 or more other friends, you can Soul Blast 2 until end of battle. Your opponent cannot call Sentinels from guard circle to hand. This card seems crazy. Fortia is already a restander, which is very powerful, and now you can give her a Sentinel restrict for one of her attacks. That just seems really strong. So grade 2, Crystallize Cherish Memories. Villain. So friend has the friend ability, continuous front row circle. If you have 3 or more other friends, all of your Vanguards with Fortia in their name get power plus 5,000. And if your opponent's grade 3 or greater, this also gets power plus 10,000. So just boosts up your Fortia, makes your restands more impactful, and also becomes a big beater on its own. This seems fine. And then Full Moon Magic Fortia. So this is a dress up for the current Fortia. If you have another unit in the same column as this unit, they become friends. And if you have 3 or more other friends, it gets drive +1. That seems crazy already. If you Persona Road this turn, the cost may be paid with Counterblast 1, discard a card instead. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, if you have 5 or more other friends, you can discard a Fortia, stand it, and it gets drive -2 until end of turn. This seems crazy, so the drive +1 only requires you to have friends, and if you already fulfill the restand requirement of having 5 friends, you're going to get the triple drive as well. So this will get 4 drives total, 3 on the first attack, 1 on the second one. And there's no, grade restrictions or anything on any of its abilities. You just need to have the other Fortia in hand for turn 3. This seems really powerful. I don't think it's that hard to fulfill the requirement of 5 friends. So I don't think it's that hard to fulfill 5 friends with the current Fortia. And, it's kind of like an underdog rogue deck where you can throw out a huge board. A lot of the friend cards also have the ability to bounce things back to hand, so board removal is not, it's not good, but it's not as bad as it could be either. This seems really strong. This might replace, Dragonic Overlord as, the brain-dead restander of choice. We'll see. Though I think right now the restander of choice is actually Minerva, because those promos that she got is really strong. But yeah, new Fortia seems crazy. Also, new vanilla triggers. They're finally putting, more non-human creatures into Lyrical. Still humanoid. They could go further. We could just put, a dragon in a schoolgirl uniform. Do it, you cowards! And next week, some sort of collab card from BT13, and also reprints are going to be like PGs and Overtrigger, obviously, but also Yuika again, which is good, because last time I got reprinted in Festival Collection, it wasn't good enough, and it's still $30. Please make this card more accessible. Alright, next up, we have the Thursday stream, so we have a triple R from Keter Sanctuary, Swordlight Dragon Sky Risen. When it's placed on rear guard circle, or put onto the guard circle, choose up to one grade 4 card from your hand and reveal it. If you reveal the card, or your Vanguard is grade 4, or if your Vanguard is grade 4, you can perform one of the following below based on the circle it's on. So 2 of your units get boost, or if it's on guard circle, it gets plus 15k shield. And when discarded from hand to ride a grade 3 from the ride deck, or as the cost of stride, you may draw a card. This seems pretty good, so Bastion does still play Bastion Apex, although in my testing so far, I feel like Apex is not really the focus of the deck. Oftentimes, I've just used it as discard fodder for Bastion Accord, which is more powerful because the restand is just free. And also, you know, just giving all your units resist and the power plus 5,000 does kind of make up for, like, the loss of the extra restand. I feel like I just wanted to do Accord a lot of the time. And then it is kind of interesting that they also gave it, like, a striding ability, so this is, like, grade 4 focus support, but they're also keeping in mind that, like, strides are grade 4. I don't know how much application this will have in Luard. You know, if we're going by the trend of previous support, almost certainly going to have a grade 3 that's, like, I don't know, Ritual 3 plus 10,000, something like that, and then when it's discarded for stride, you can draw a card. Or, you know, Messiah and Jet both have cards that do that similar thing where they gain 10,000 power for doing their clan's gimmick and then draw a card when discarded for stride. So I don't know that this will have a lot of application there, especially because the ability to give things boost doesn't seem super relevant if Luard is a grade 1 focus deck like it's always been. I appreciate that this has potential use in Premium. One of my criticisms of D format is that not a lot of cards have crossover between the two formats, and I would really like to see them, like, design rear guards for Premium. It's really boring that they just keep printing new strides and not enough rear guards. One of my problems with the potential death of V. Maybe we'll do a video about that eventually. But yeah, I like the design of this card. I like that they're keeping strides in mind. It just seems like for the specific stride that we know is coming up, I don't know that this card has application. Maybe this could do something in, like, Alt Mile, where you're playing around with a lot of grade 2s. But at the same time, this is a grade 3, so yeah. Like, it's an interesting card. I'm not seeing the application of it right now. Next up, promos, because we love those. So, Knight of Keen Eye Azaltus. So when it attacks, if you have Vanguard with Ezel, you can do one of the following. Choose your Vanguard, it gets a continuous ability, all of your front row get power plus 5,000, and at the end of the battle, put this unit at the bottom of the deck. That seems crazy. You need to, like, countercharge on place, and, you know, you can also use it to, like, bottom deck something. So you can, like, bottom deck a unit, clear up the space for Ezel, and then bounce the Din Drain back to hand. Which is also very good. Like, this promo seems crazy. Like, I think one of the criticisms I had for Ezel is because you didn't, none of the units you call gain power. They kind of hit like wet noodles, so getting that extra 5k in there is very useful, and, or just like protecting Din Drains, recycling that countercharger, also very good. Like, just seems like a very powerful card. Sucks that it's a promo. Then we have Time Stamping Dragon, so Dark States is getting another grade 3 promo. Interesting because we already had, like, Barfamades as one of them. I do wish they would give another one to Keter that isn't just Graham Grace, which barely counts because it also got reprinted in a set, and it's getting a structure deck made for it too. But anyways, Time Stamping Dragon, so on attack, Counterblast 1. Choose one of your rear guards without the same card name as a card in your bind zone. That is such a weird way of wording it. And bind it. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you may choose 2 cards with different card names as each other instead of 1. When your rear guard is bound by this unit's effect, if that card's original grade is 3 or greater. Until end of turn, this unit gets triple drive and power plus 10,000. If it is not, search your deck for one card with grade plus 1 as that card, call it to rearguard circle, and that called unit gets power plus 10,000. So, basically, it has the ability to time leap as long as your card has a different card name as cards in your bind zone. So, this is sort of like time leap Gear Chronicle, but also like Highlander style of play, which sounds really interesting. You know, I like this more than like Highlander in Bermuda. Maybe because I just don't have that existing bias where I wish Bermuda would just focus on bouncing cards to hand instead, but there's also like Chaos that already exists that also kind of plays like Highlander. I think in reality they don't actually do that, you know, because they already have Mikani to act as different names, so, you know, this is an interesting card, kind of plays around with concepts that already exist. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do for the ride line for this. I imagine you end up just playing like the Favrenil one that's super generic, like draw a card and then discard a card. I have to double check what Chaos does to see if that has any application here. Let's do that now. Okay, Chaos Ride Line has no application here. Not only does it need the Chaos name, it also just puts them into Soul, which doesn't help anything. I think because so much of Dark States has been really Soul-focused up until this point, you're just going to have to play a generic Ride Line, because you don't have anything that really fits with this. Next, I believe this is also a promo, so Rough Call Hammer Dragon. When it attacks, if you played a normal order this turn, it gets 5k until end of battle. At the end of the battle, Counterblast 1, draw a card, and bind this unit. And then Bind Zone, when your normal order is played, if you have a Vanguard with Vermilion in this card name and only Narukami for its clan, and you do not have a rearguard with the same name as this card, you can call it to rearguard circle. So this is really cool. So, you know, it's plussing, which the deck desperately needs, gets a bit of extra power, but also, you know, it gets itself out of the way, protects itself from, like, other forms of removal. Let's say you're playing against Gondiva, for example, and then next turn, when you play your order, which you almost certainly will, because you can use it from the drop zone as well, this card just comes back. So I really like this card, a card that, like, recurs itself as a form of protection as well. So it's, like, plussing, it has power, recursion, like, this is really good, I really like this. Once again, wish it wasn't a promo. Like, it really sucks that we have these really, like, cool and interesting cards that are being created, and then they're all just promos, right? So, promo list, I don't remember what these do, but, you know, we have the Vermilion promo and the Ezel promo, and, you know, one more card, we have a Kyrie promo. So, act, if you have Vanguard with Kyrie and your opponent's grade 3 or greater, Counterblast 1, search deck, soul, or drop for one card with Kyrie in its name, write it as stand, return this unit to your deck, and shuffle. And then if you have a grade 4 Vanguard with Kyrie, it also gets shield plus 10,000. Thank God they're finally printing significant numbers of shield on cards. So this is a 15k shield that also gets you to your grade 4 Kyrie, which is crazy. And unlike a lot of the other grade 4 searchers, it just gets it from anywhere, like Dex, Soul, or Drop. Like, this one is so versatile, and then you have, I think it was like the Bruce one or the Bastion one that, like, can only come from the hand, and it's like, why are you like this? Like, why can't you just make them consistent and all do the same thing? And then next week for the Dokuvan, which is the Thursday stream, we're gonna get the Herminia dress up. So, you know, we actually had a lot of really cool and interesting cards this week. I wish they weren't all promos, but, you know, it is what it is. And once again with Fortia, same thing with Avantgarde, where they're printing these very powerful restanders. In this case, like, having 4 drives, although it's like 3 drives and then 1 drive, which is a little goofy, but then you're combining that with the ability to potentially give it a Sentinel restrict, and the original Fortia is still good. That one's just like Counterblast 1, discard, it gets power plus 5,000, drive minus 1. So only 3 drives on that one. Less optimal than this Fortia, I would imagine. I think the drive plus 1 is just better. But the fact that you can combine the two, whether that's like you prioritize getting the triple drive through with a Sentinel restrict, Or, you do your triple drive, get it really big with triggers, and then you hit them with the Sentinel Restrict. Like, either way, this seems really crazy, and I'm not sure I appreciate this kind of design. This seems like the kind of thing that would be okay in a universe where G Guardians or some sort of equivalent mechanic exists, but as of right now, defensive power isn't quite there, and they're only just now beginning to print cards that have significant shield value, right? So, yeah. Like, I really wish they would kind of curb the offensive power creep a little bit. It feels like, offensive power creep is going like this, and then defensive power creep is like... Like, I think we either need some sort of rework of blitz orders, both, like, not making them once per turn potentially, just because it really hampers how you're able to use them, makes it so that pretty much you are only able to focus on Sanctitude because it's so powerful. Or, something that I've considered is making some sort of blitz deck. Adding some sort of cost where you have to, like, discard a card or something to be able to play, like, a blitz order from an outside zone. Then it could stay maybe, like, once per turn, but now you have some sort of, like, G-Guard equivalent mechanic, so if you have a card in your hand, like a draw trigger, let's say, that's not worth a lot of shield value, you can potentially trade it in for something that's, like, 25k shield. Like, that would be really nice. Just make G-Guards in Standard. We kind of need them now. Like, we really need some sort of revolution in the way the defensive design of Vanguard. So, yeah. So, in other news, we have Fighter Rule Update for EN, so they're basically just kind of talking about how to play the Stride deck, so you may use any other previous printing of Chronojet Dragon, and it'll count as the one from D, and only people with the entire Ride line in their Ride deck may prepare a G deck. Actually, no, I think you don't need the Grade 2, but you need, like, the Grade 0, the Grade 1, and the Grade 3 to prepare a G deck, which means if you're trying to, like, cheat it where we don't have Chronojet in the Ride deck, we're gonna play it separately so that we can have two Chronojets in the same team. Seems like you can't do that anymore, which is a good thing. Oh, and then just clarifying that, like, dress-up is continuous, like, during the game, which means in deck building, dress-ups have different names. You should already know this, but people get confused for no reason. Oh, and also Kairos decided randomly to just clarify this particular one, where the Petralka support that has the continuous ability that its name becomes Petralka, like, that doesn't count during deck building. It specifically says a continuous, like, in your deck. So this is only active, like, during, like, the game. Like, Bushiroad has been very careful about making it so that cards that copy names, like, count during the fight and not in deck building, because it wouldn't make very much sense if that were the case. Like, why would this card that's designed to support Petralka take away from the amount of Petralkas that you can put in the deck? That just doesn't make any sense. But, CFA is CFA. Please give us a better simulator, Bushiroad. Thank you. Alright, so I don't have a very clean visual for this, so I'm just going to pull up Different Fights video, but Bushiroad had its earnings call recently where they talk about all of their various earnings and plans for the future, so... Excuse me, so Bushiroad has its earnings call where they talk about, like, current state of the company and their plans for the future, so generally speaking, it seems like all of their IPs are currently on the upswing. I know this visual is kind of cut off right now. Let's see if we can get a little earlier in the video. There we go. So yeah, so they have a plan to introduce a new TCG in 2024, which seems absolutely insane. The market is absolutely saturated right now, and a lot of their, like, alternate games have been huge flops. Like, Shadowverse has done very well for itself, but Shadowverse is also an existing IP that has a lot of popularity behind it, so that's kind of driving some of the demand, I would imagine. Then we have, Vanguard and Weiss Schwarz, which are their like longest lasting IPs. Vanguard is their flagship original IP. It's the only one that's survived. And, Weiss is such a huge crossover IP that tons of people buy into it just as a collector's product, right? And then, you have this flat line that's all of their other TCGs, and it's like, you're gonna launch a new one? Really? But yeah. So, in recent years, Weiss Schwarz has grown significantly. Shadowverse is doing very well. They claim there are no companies that have succeeded in multiple deployments of TCG the way they have. And they're also planning to put more effort into their original IP, Cardfight Vanguard. So this is kind of the one that's most relevant to us, putting more effort into Vanguard. It's no secret that... Excuse me. It is no secret right now that Vanguard is kind of in a place. Like, we have bad products in general with things like History Collection, bad product ratios, also History Collection, trying to think. Promos, promo situation has been really bad for us. I'm sure they're more accessible in Japan where there are more shops willing to stock Vanguard and you have access to like the magazines that the promos come in. But like for us, we have to wait months and months to get these promos. They're often distributed as like shop promos where it's not guaranteed that the shop will get them. Anytime the discourse about promos comes up, a lot of people chime in to be like, yeah, my shop doesn't even get the promos. I recently had an incident with my shop where the owner was going overseas for vacation, so they forgot to do the signups for June, which, ultimately that is their fault, but they were trying to email Bushiroad to see if they could get some kind of support, right? Because they missed the tournament signups, so there's no promos, but also they missed the signups for a shop challenge, which is a pretty big deal for us because this locals that I go to is pretty competitive, has a lot of competitive level players, and as far as I know, she just never got a response from Bushiroad, I think it's one thing if Bushiroad had just said, no, like, you missed the sign up, sorry. That would be one thing, but the fact that they're not communicating at all is kind of a problem, right? And earlier in the video, Different Fight goes over some other slides where they say, they're planning on focusing more on the overseas products, getting into a better relationship with local shops, which I hope is true. There are a ton of problems, and Bushiroad knows these problems exist, right? Like, back in November of last year, God, it's already August, it's almost been a year since we had that particular incident. They talked about, like, okay, we hear your concerns, we know that you guys aren't happy with the current promo situation, we're gonna make them box toppers in addition to tournament promos, and then it took, like, 2-3 sets for them to actually implement that, and when they did, it was in the worst way possible. They gave us, like, foiled reprints of set 2 cards that are just like, wow, this is worthless, And, like, the current wave of promos, I think because it's going alongside a festival collection, aren't box toppers as far as I know, so they're all, like, stupidly expensive right now, like the Minerva promo and the Maelstrom one. Emposa was a shop challenge promo, and that's also impossible to get. Back in set 8, we had things like the Thagrea Order and Broken Toys for Tamayura, which was, like, super duper expensive, and again, the discourse there was a lot of actual shops that ordered cases didn't get their promos. Meanwhile, you just have these, like, backpack vendors and just random people on Facebook who, like, bought a case, got these promos, and are selling them for, like, $30, $40, $50. It's insane. And then we just had the more recent History Collection where Bushiroad decided that they were going all in on historical accuracy for G-Era and making their big chase card, Harmonix Messiah, a 1 to 2 copies per case card, just like old GRs, which means it is $70 right now. I really appreciate their dedication to historical accuracy here. So, yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done for Cardfight Vanguard. I'm hoping that, they're seeing the success it's having, the fact that it's managed to survive through multiple reboots and still have all of this interest and community and actually, like, focus on us for once. Oh, and also Korean Vanguard has, like, figured its shit out. Like, they just put important promos into sets as, like, actual cards. And I think their ban list is better than ours. We also had the recent ban list fiasco where they released a ban list like 2 months late, and then it was a terrible ban list that was just copy-pasting Japan's. You know, they didn't announce the BCS locations until like a month out, and going back to like the shop promo thing, it's like, oh, we're announcing like BCS is happening, and shop challenges are coming up right now! And it's like, what? Like, give us some time, man. So, yeah, like, Bushiroad really needs to, like, put more effort into Cardfight Vanguard, for sure. So, we will see what this renewed focus coming up is going to look like. Also, they stated their plans are going to go up through 2027. You can kind of see it past the chat here. I'm sorry I don't have a cleaner visual for you guys. I'm too lazy to go find the spreadsheet right now. But also, like, I saw it on Twitter somewhere, and I, like, scrolled back and couldn't find it. So, just put up with this. The video's almost over. But yeah, I'm a little concerned of another new TCG. A lot of people are speculating some reboot of one of their existing IPs, like Luck and Logic or Buddy Fight. We'll see. I know there's popular demand for Buddy Fight, but a lot of people are like, you know, if you launch this right now, during like the TCG boom where a bunch of other companies are already struggling for attention, it's probably going to flop again. And also, there's just the concern, like, you already have 3 IPs, right? You have Weiss Schwarz, which is your big anime crossover IP, you have Vanguard, which is your big original IP, and then you have Shadowverse, which is like a collaboration with one other company, so you already have a good spread going. I feel like we could just take the time to focus on what we currently have and make them better. But, you know, we'll see. Also, you know, in general, I think it comes later in the video. I don't want to, like, scroll through too much. We'll see. Like, there was a slide that talks about their plans. Here it is. Yeah, so later on in the presentation, they also had a slide talking about how they plan on expanding Vanguard. You know, they're gonna try to do a media mix of, like, supporting the TCG, you know, releasing anime, and making console games, which right now we have Dear Days, which is largely a flop. Too expensive, too much DLC. Didn't launch with a lot of fanfare to begin with. Like, I think they could have done a better job of, like, sponsoring people to play their game. Also, it's just running on this very old UI. It doesn't look as good as, say, Master Duel, for example. It doesn't feel as intuitive as Master Duel. I know they're a much smaller company, but, you know, if you really want to expand Vanguard and make it accessible, you really do need that, like, Master Duel level of quality. So, yeah, overall, it seems like Vanguard isn't going to go anywhere, so if that's the main concern, like, that seems like it's not going to happen. It seems like Vanguard is doing pretty well for itself, and if they actually take the time to focus on the game, start to repair their relationship with shops, and make better products, you know, another thing is that their EN exclusive products are bad. They're basically scams. Do not pay $88 for the Mask Supply set. I'm sorry, just every time I try to be positive about them, I just remember some stupid thing that they've done. So yeah, hopefully in 2024, with this renewed focus on Vanguard, because it is apparently, according to them, successful, that we won't get bullshit like that anymore. God, I hope so. Anyways, that is going to be it for this episode of the Root Beer News Network. I hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks. Bye-bye.